All right, here we are. We are suddenly past challenge one into challenge two, and we have the first set of contestants in the next Dark Star. We have Andy Eloise. Congratulations, Andy.
Thanks so much.
Zach R. You made it to round two.
Thank you.
We have Cammie. Congratulations, Cammie. Hey, Cammie goes gray. You're not gray.
I am.
Oh, there you are. Okay. All right.
Don't worry.
And
It's
then
all
we have
there.
we have Lyra Blake, who are you are part of the top, the first group that made it through. So congratulations
Thank you.
to you. Now you probably I don't want to spend too much time introducing you because I want to get around to introducing our mentor for challenge number two. Now you've heard of him, I'm sure. If you're into the audiobook narration game, you probably know this guy who has produced more than 800 audiobooks, and that's just under his one romance title name. He's famous for many titles, among them Rebecca Yarros. If you've read The Fourth Wing or Iron Flame, you may have read the rom-com The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, or H.D. Carlton's Haunting Adeline, or Hunting Adeline. I'd like to introduce you to the one, the only, Teddy Hamilton. Welcome, Teddy. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for being our mentor for challenge number two for the next Dark Star. And I want to introduce you to our contestants here for this first group. We have Andy Eloise.
Hi.
We have Zach R. We have Cammie Havens
Hello.
and Lyra Blake.
Hello.
So these are your mentees, and I want to tell you all about a little bit about your challenge. Right.
Okay.
So the first challenge was just a general acting challenge where you interpret the copy as best you can, whether it's dramatic or comedic, and do your best to interpret the copy in a way that is authentic and dramatic and or comedic. So that was our first screening for contestants. Now we're going to start
Were
getting
people eliminated?
There were, yes.
Ooh,
Yeah,
rough.
we did eliminate some people. So I'll tell you a little bit about the
Congratulations to everybody still here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we started with, I think, around 130 contestants originally.
Yeah.
From those contestants, Tessa and Brandon and I had to do the first round of cuts and somehow find the top 20 contestants. That proved to be impossible. We couldn't narrow it down to just 20, so we were able to, and it was hard. It was
You
really
gotta be mean, man. This is a contest. This isn't
Exactly. Well, and the funny thing is, like, you would think that, being a narrator, that I would be extra picky and I would be the one who was the tough nut to crack. But as I was listening to all of these people, I'm like, yeah, I hear potential here.
yeah, what you're doing.
Yeah, this person sounds great. I think we can work with this person. And then Tessa and Brandon were the ones who had to say, well, there can only be 20. Well, we ended up upping that number to 26.
Well, that's one of the things that I think I was drawn to this idea when you first pitched it to me in the beginning. Was I like the idea of giving people a chance to show what they can do, and so the fact that you were moved by people who maybe didn't make it past in this particular competition doesn't mean that that they don't have a chance at showcasing their talents and having somebody else feel the same way you did. So it's good.
Exactly. And and another thing about the whole premise behind the next Dark Star, what I wanted to do was make sure that even if you didn't make it past the next round, that if you hung out with us and you went through this adventure, you would experience the challenges that you and I, Teddy, went through as we were coming up. I mean, we've probably been around, been doing this maybe for the same amount of time. I think my first title came out in 2010, I think.
Yeah. Now, that might put you. I think that puts you. I think I'm 2012, maybe 2010.
Yeah, man, have
I
you
don't
been
remember
busy?
the first one that I did.
How do you did time go by that fast where like one minute you're going, okay, I have 20 titles under my belt, and the next thing you've got over 800 titles just under romance alone.
I will say this is a good thing for anybody starting out in this business to know, is that, your first couple years you'll walk away and you'll say, I have 11 titles, and you've been doing it now for 3 years or something, and you're excited that you just broke 10.
Yeah.
But once you sort of breach a certain area where different companies know you, different people know you, different listeners, different authors know you, that then it starts to cascade after a while. If you do good work, if you're good to work with, then you can make a go of this. But yeah, I think the first 2 years I did it, I probably brought down maybe 4 books total or something that whole time.
Yeah. Momentum.
And networking. It's like that's the whole idea of networking, is like meeting people. That's something like this, putting yourself out into places like this, so that people can see what you are bringing to the table. It's good.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was one of the first thing that I did when we brought it down from 130 to 26 names, is I sent out an email that said, number one, you have a friend in the business who can help you if you need guidance, and some of the people have taken me up on that. For the second challenge, for the first challenge, we did the same thing. I sent out, we're now down to 16 contestants from our original 26, and when we sent out the email, I said, hey, I'd like to spend some time with you going over your challenge, and I would love to give you some feedback and some advice on how you can get to the next to the next step and address the things that will get you in, starting from here. But so now we have a little bit more of a technical challenge, and this is something that I don't know if you went through this, Teddy, but I remember having these challenges when it came to doing opposite gender voices. That's a tough thing. It's hard, I think, for everybody. For men doing women's voices and for women doing men's voices. It's hard to do your interpretation of the way the person of the opposite sex sounds, and make it sound authentic. And
the one thing that I will say, and this is, I guess, mainly for Zach, is I very, very, very early on in my career, it was made very clear to me that when you're a male and you're going to do a female voice, you do not do the falsetto. You do it, so you start talking like this. And I used to direct too, and there was a time when I had this guy come in and he had created this whole character that was going to sound like this. And it was a romance book, and I was like, no, don't stop. And he got so mad at me because he was like, but I created a whole character. And I was like, yeah, do that same character, just don't do that with your voice. And can I talk about my feelings on this with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So one of it actually kind of highlights a little bit about the way that I approach doing all character work, to be honest, is you say it's a technical challenge, and it is a technical challenge because there is certain vocal gymnastics you have to do when you are creating these different voices of these people. But where I think the most important thing is in the energy that you're bringing to the character itself. That you could have, you could have a male who is a softer spoken, lighter male, and you could have the exact same vocal technical work that you're doing with your voice for some female character in the same book, where the physical thing that you're doing, the physical vocal work that you're doing, is almost the same, but you're bringing the personality of the characters to completely different vibes, and that I think comes from the inner energies of the character more than the actual, like, you know, your ability to be like, this guy sounds like this guy sounds like this, you know. It's more about, this guy is a grizzled old war veteran, this guy is haunted by some kind of trauma in his past, this person is so excited to be here it doesn't even matter. And you can, it's more about their inner life and how you bring that out than it even is about the vocals. Then you do the vocals just to help, you know, to add decoration to that person. But the work that you have to do to really separate characters is in their personalities and their energies. I like to use the word energy, but
and like basically what goes on in their past that informs the way that they talk now. Right. And I think that's what and when you said, this guy is a grizzled old veteran. Well, there's a whole boatload of emotions and perspective that comes into the way that person talks, you know, who's been through things that, you know, that other people haven't, that inform the way that they talk. So that's so the gender bending portion of this challenge is
it'll be a very different point of view if you're a different gender too, I think. Your world treats you differently. Your friends, you know, everything is. I hate to say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but like the idea is still that there are two very distinct points of view of the world and the people around them.
That you have to interact differently to the world around you if you're a man versus whether if you're a woman. The way that you perceive the world, or the way the world perceives you. Informs that. And so that's a good kind of a dovetail into the second part of the challenge, which is where we're going to create distinct characters that may be the same sex as your POV, but you need to give these characters their own distinct sound and personality. And I think that you're right. You know, it's not that you affect a new voice. If you're a woman, you're going to, or if you're playing a woman as a man, that you're going to make your voice higher. It's not that. It's the mannerisms and you know, your perspective. Same thing applies to creating a distinct character that is distinguishable from your main character and from the other secondary and tertiary characters, right?
Ooh, tertiary, I like that word. Tertiary character. I was working today in a book where there are 3 older ladies, all of them pretty mischievous. Like it's like a small town romance, and there's just 3 women who are like pulling strings left and right and doing all this kind of stuff, and separating them out is trouble, because then I have to, and I think especially when I start going like, it's already me, I'm a 40-year-old man. As soon as I have to play an 84-year-old man, that's already a big leap from who I am to what I need to be doing. Toss in that I'm a 40-year-old man and I need to be voicing an 85-year-old woman. That's also hard. Then there's also 2 other 85-year-old women that are all in dialogue with each other. How am I going to separate each one of them out? So then that's where I can't do a lot of hugely different vocal differences. I can make some subtle differences between one and the other, but the thing that helps me the most is that this one is much more loud and boisterous and vocal, and, you know, like likes to watch the world burn. This one is like just so much nicer and kinder, and maybe a little more careful with the way in which they speak, so that the way in which they talk, the way in which they carry themselves helps me differentiate these voices who are so different from me already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And people speaking, one of the things that I try to do when I'm creating like different characters is, and this is the technical aspect of creating a distinctive character, is to remember that some people will speak in staccato and speak much faster, and then other people kind of like, they take their own time and they keep their
yeah,
own counsel when they're
yeah, yeah,
talking.
yeah, yeah.
And it's funny when you talk about like, three different 83-year-old women are going to have like totally different perspectives on life. One woman seems to keep her sweetness through, even though she's been through
Well,
just,
also they all are mischievous.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then then there's the other woman who's like, who's grizzled and has her own way. So
Yeah,
when you're doing these different characters, you will pay attention to the speed at which they talk, the
yeah.
way in which they pattern their speech, and the inflection that they give to
Can
their
I
characters.
can I just say another thing that I think, and this is now getting more into like my acting style, where I'm very much an inside out actor than an outside in. So what you're gonna get a lot from me is like these things, the masks that we put on come after you figure out who's the person who's decided to wear this mask, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
The idea is that like where I'm searching the most is in my own experience of the world and the times in which I have felt certain ways that then I
Yeah.
can take and build out of somebody who that's their main drive, that's their main, that's where
Hmm.
they've lived most of their lives. I know I was in this place, I'm a certain way, but I
Hmm.
also know times when I felt certain ways that I could see somebody, that's their center, that's their emotional center,
Yeah.
that then I start there and then let that build out. And then if there's notes, he said in his deep,
Right.
grizzled, raspy voice that sounded like rocks, and
Yeah.
sure, then I can add all of those things, those trappings on top of it. But at first, I have
Hmm.
to start at what is the emotional center of the character, and
Yeah.
that helps so much
Hmm.
in having a grounding place that I always know when I go to that, when I have to say this character, when I have to speak as this character, I go to this place inside myself.
Yeah.
Does
Oh
that
yeah,
make
that makes
sense?
sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it was something that you can relate. You can relate in your own life to that.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
tell you about this with the script that we have for this challenge.
Hmm.
We have these. So
Caleb.
Suzanne, uh, Caroline Peckham, and Suzanne Valenti are sisters,
Yeah.
and they write like amazing dialogue and characters.
Yeah.
And so we've taken from this book called The Awakening, which is very cool. What they did was they created these scenes from the perspective of the girls in the story, and then
The
they
twin
did this.
girls,
Mhm, yeah, the twin girls
just
exactly,
to
and
add another element.
yeah, and then the same scene from the perspective of the boys in this scene. So it's pretty cool. There are a lot of characters in here, and we've given our contestants the scripts so that they can take a look at them and map out their own characters. And what I'd like to do, if it sounds good to you, is maybe spend about 5 minutes with each of us, or with each of our contestants here, hear how they handle the script, and you guys can use any part from any of this from the scenes that you want. Read those, and maybe we can get some feedback from Teddy on what you could do to make it even better, if that sounds good. So, how about we go from clockwise from the top, and we'll start with Andy, and then we'll work our way down
She's like,
to
oh, great. Thank you so much.
yeah. Andy gets to be first. Does that sound
Excellent.
good?
No
Do you have
pressure.
a part of the scene picked out?
Yes, I totally do.
Can I
This is
toss
not...
something out?
Yeah.
Let me toss something out. Sorry, Andy, I'm interrupting you.
Bring it on.
I think I've been in a couple situations where I've had to read in front of other people. I know this isn't your first time doing this, but I've been in this situation, and the best thing for everybody involved is to like forget that we're here, get into the script, see the images in your head, see what you're doing, and like if you mess up on a line or whatever, that's just part of the game. Don't worry about anything. Focus on that. Forget we're even here. We're quiet.
Yeah. Good deal. I'll mute my microphone too.
Me too.
Great. No
But
pressure. Picking out...
I'll
What? Excellent. Faces. No pressure. Picking out a section of the script is easy because I've already done that because I'm a forward thinker. And that section is... We're going to start from 1, 2... Okay, great. I'm coming into this blind. I have never read this book. I'm very unfamiliar with the story, so we're just gonna see what happens. I did give someone an English accent, so we'll see how that comes out. Yeah. Okay. Tense mutters broke out in the class, and I realized I was clutching the edge of my desk, my knuckles turning white. Fine, Orion said in a deadly tone. But the other Vega twin is mine. Excuse me? I gasped, but they continued to ignore us. Caleb grumbled something, starting to stalk back and forth before him like a caged lion. Deal, he finally forced out, then marched from the room, slamming the door behind him. Orion straightened his shirt, then turned back to the board. Ares are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive when... He went on, and I turned to Tori in absolute shock as Orion continued as if nothing had just happened. Don't we get a say in this? I hissed to my sister. Not unless we can fight them off, Tori said, her brow creasing with rage. Which you won't be able to do unless you listen in class. A book slammed into our desk, and Tori and I sprang apart to avoid it hitting us. Orion glared at us, the clear perpetrator. One more word out of either of you, and you'll be in detention for the rest of the year. I pressed my lips together as fury bubbled and steamed inside me. Is he serious right now? He stared at us, waiting for either of us to talk back. We remained silent, and he returned to teaching.
All right. Very nice.
Yeah, great. That was great. Like, it would be a lot easier. You'd make our job easier if you had not read it so well. No, it was really good. I would say, like, there's a certain element when it comes to, like, how you're not aware of who Caleb is?
Me as a person or me as this main character?
You as a person reading this thing for us today.
I don't know who any of these people are.
Okay. The one thing that I will say is, so when I'm listening to it, I got like a little bit of a scene notes that I was reading. Mm-hmm. I guess I've been blessed with that.
You got that too, right? Right, Andy? Did you get the scene notes and the character descriptions?
I did.
In there? Okay.
I did, yeah.
So one of the things that's there is, it seems like Caleb is some kind of Caleb's the guy who was yelling at them.
No, Orion, the professor.
Orion,
I believe is a vampire.
But so then Orion is the lead male protagonist.
Mm.
And so when I hear any male lead protagonist, the power of their anger, the power of their, when they're disciplining has to have something that you kind of like about it also.
Yeah.
And I think that for this particular scene, like as just a scene plucked out of context, great job. What I would say is, and something to always keep in mind is, this is a sexy male lead character. This is somebody who, when he yells at you, has to both be like, how dare he talk to us this way? And also, how dare he talk to us this way kind of thing. Yeah. There has to be like an element of that.
That's a good
and so I would say that would be where I would urge you.
That's a great note.
Thank you.
Can I try again? Is there time in my 5 minutes to try again?
Yeah, we have about you want to take a minute and get through that
I'll
one
just do
thing?
the
It'd be
first
cool
half.
to hear. Yeah.
Or take it from take it from where you want.
Excellent, because I guess I read the sheet wrong because I thought Caleb was the main protagonist.
So did I.
My bad. My bad, you guys.
Yeah. That's okay.
Okay. Tense mutters broke out in the class, and I realized I was clutching the edge of my desk, my knuckles turning white. Fine, Orion said in a deadly tone. But the other Vega twin is mine. Excuse me, I gasped, but they continued to ignore us, blah, 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 blah. Orion straightened his shirt, then turned back to the board. Ares are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive when... He went on, and I turned to Tori in absolute shock as Orion continued as if nothing had just happened. Don't we get a say in this? I hissed to my sister. Not unless we can fight them off, Tori said, her brow creasing with rage. Which you won't be able to do unless you listen in class. A book slammed into our desk, and Tori and I sprang apart to avoid it hitting us. Orion glared at us, the clear perpetrator. One more word out of either of you, and you'll be in detention for the rest of the year. A little bit
Nice.
better?
Yeah, that sounded good. I think one of the things I would add to this is there are some technical things that you can do to help differentiate the people. One is if you are the closer you get to your microphone, the more presence and bass and things like that will that you'll impart to your character, and then when you pull away, it's a little bit more enunciated and articulate. And so if you have a secondary character, if you pull away a little bit, that'll give the microphone a whole different sound as you're doing them. So it helps for people to be able to distinguish. You're talking, even if it's your twin, you're talking, and then she's talking, and that will help to give some distinguishing. All right, Zach, are you ready for us?
Good job, Andy.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that sounded really good, Andy.
Really well done, Andy. Okay, so there's like quite a bit of this that I'd like to do because our male part has big chunks of narration. Is it okay if I kind of jump through some of that narration so we get more of the character dialogue?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, because I do really want to start with the fight in the beginning.
I thought that myself when I was reading it. I was like, well, this is a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of character for this one particular character, but under the idea of the challenges we're doing.
Yeah, there's going to be there's a lot more monologue in the in the male version of this.
At least for the purposes of this 5 minutes, I'm just going to kind of jump through some of that narration.
Right.
Go for it. Yeah.
Enough! I bellowed before Caleb could try and land the strike. The Terra Air paused, clearly forcing himself to consider our situation over his own instincts too, and the students all fell still as they watched our interaction. Caleb extinguished the flames in his palms, a low growl rolling from his throat. She's my source. Touch her again and you're dead, professor or not. I snatched the front of his shirt, pulling him within an inch of my face. Get out of my classroom. Not until you swear it, Caleb spat, wheeling a hand around to point at Tori. She's mine. Keep your teeth out of her. I don't belong to anyone, Tori snapped, and Darcy nodded her agreement. You do until you can fight us off. Caleb pushed me off of him so hard my back smashed into the board and I bared my fangs, fighting my instincts to kill him for that. Fine, I said in a deadly tone, but the other Vega twin is mine. Excuse me? Darcy gasped, but neither Caleb or I acknowledged her as we eyed each other. Deal, he finally forced out. A breath left me that was tangled with relief. Sorry, I'm trying to jump around a bit. A breath left me that was tangled with relief, because now I had her. So I straightened my shirt and turned to the board, a smile tearing across my face where they couldn't see it as I continued with the lesson in a flat tone. Aries are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive when... I went on autopilot as my heart drummed to a hammering beat and my inner vampire bellowed his victory. But I was fucked, so fucked, because I knew this was about more than her blood. Some deeper connection forged by something intangible. Darcy Vega was my source. Mine. And no one else in the whole damn kingdom could have a taste of her but me. Don't we get a say in this? Darcy hissed to her sister, and my smile dug deeper. No, Blue, you don't. Not unless we can fight them, Tori said in anger. All right, I think that gives a bit of a taste of most of these characters.
Yeah, pretty good. I will say my initial reaction is actually that the part that we're skipping over, which is the narration. There are elements of when it's first person perspective, it's basically a monologue. Mm-hmm. Like it's you're telling us how you're feeling and what your experience of this is. There's two ways that different people. There's two main columns of narration that I've noticed in my 10 years of narrating and directing, is that some people are reading a book and some people are acting, and there's a balance that needs to be struck between those two things. And if you lean too much into like the sentence structure and the there's a comma here and there's a period at the end of the sentence, that you end up losing some of the humanity of it. And that's okay in third person a lot of times, and that's certainly okay in nonfiction. But in first person, it has to all come from an emotional place. And I'm feeling a sense, there's moments where it will come out, especially when you were saying, I'm fucked in this moment. This is the thing where we're actually starting to get a sense of how you feel about this moment, of how this character feels about this moment. But in the beginning, the tension of the fight, this standoff that's happening between these two guys, is kind of lost in the language of the wording. So, and your female voice was fine. Your female voice sounded like a good. It was a good one. You didn't go.
Thank you.
You didn't go too hard female. It was a nice, softer, like clear. She was upset. Like, don't we get a chance in this? It was all very good. Mm-hmm. I would say the thing that I would focus your attention towards is actually more in setting the tone during the narrative part, because it feels a little distanced. Mm-hmm. And I want to know more about how it feels, that these moments are happening, that these actions are taking place, as opposed to kind of.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think there are a couple of things that are helpful when you're drawing distinctions between characters, and when Teddy is when you said, yeah, there's the inner monologue, and then there's the character work that you do, and you can, in my opinion, flip those things in both ways depending on the way that your character expresses themselves. So, for example, let's say that your character is a little bit of a sociopath. Well, oftentimes a sociopath will moderate their speech when talking to people, and will be or no, I'm sorry, they'll moderate, they'll be more expressive as they speak to other characters, but their inner monologue is a bit more calculating and less expressive. And so, so in terms of Orion, when, as he's talking, he comes across as like a, at least to me, as I read him, he comes across as a real cool guy. He's like, you don't have a choice, Blue. He's just kind of like cool, calculated, his own guy, very self-contained, but inside he's going, I am fucked. And that's there's like a difference in the way that they talk, which kind of gives you a little bit better feeling for who they're, who they are, who they really are, and how they express themselves. And then the difference between your character Orion and this other guy who's saying, you keep your teeth away from her. That's an opportunity for you to draw a distinction between the characters. So if Orion is like Mr. Cool, alpha, alpha character, moody and dark, then you can make the other guy a little bit less in control of his emotions and give him more inflection as he's talking, and that will allow you to like separate these two guys. So
yeah,
I think.
Can I make a request? Can I make a request, Troy?
Yeah.
Can I hear you? Can I request that he reads one other thing?
Yeah,
Please?
yeah, definitely.
Can you start at the top? I just want to see this. It doesn't involve a female talking in this in this section, but can I see just this moment where they're having a standoff? They're both sexy leads. Lance Orion is the main character and the first point of view that you are doing, but Caleb Altair is a celestial air. He's handsome, he's powerful, he's got all of these things, and he'll definitely like be book 2, like the book 2 hero or something. You know what I mean? He's a clear competitor for the affections of these characters, and so he's a sexy man. He's a good guy. I think what I was getting a bit from you was this kind of like, I am a bad guy kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas instead I want him to be kind of like, yeah, I'm a bad guy. Kind of, give him his own likability. And then see how those two guys face off and how that affects the inner life of the main POV.
Great.
Just go through like till the thing, detention for this week though, or something like that.
All right. Okay. So just sort of through their standoff, maybe when he huffs off out the door.
Yeah.
Great. Enough! I bellowed before Caleb could try and land the strike. The Terra Air paused, clearly forcing himself to consider our situation over his own instincts too, and the students all fell still as they watched our interaction. Caleb extinguished the flames in his palms, a low growl rolling from his throat. She's my source. Touch her again and you're dead, professor or not. I snatched at the front of his shirt, pulling him within an inch of my face. Get out of my classroom. Not until you swear it, Caleb spat, wheeling a hand around to point at Tori. She's mine. Keep your teeth out of her. I don't belong to anyone, Tori snapped, and Darcy nodded her agreement. You do until you can fight us off. Caleb pushed me off of him so hard my back smashed into the board and I bared my fangs, fighting my instincts to kill him for that. "Fine," I said in a deadly tone, "but the other Vega twin is mine." "Excuse me?" Darcy gasped, but neither Caleb or I acknowledged her as we eyed each other. "Deal," he finally forced out, then marched from the room, slamming the door behind him.
Yeah. How did that feel?
That felt a lot better to me. I definitely felt more tension in the narration. I was definitely glossing over the narration a little bit more the first time, and I felt like that time I kind of let myself live in the narration more.
Yeah.
I felt like I was giving Caleb a little bit more personality beyond, because what I latched onto from the scene notes were he's kind of arrogant and entitled. So I kind of threw him in there, and I think that turned into that, like you said, that sort of generic villain guy, especially because of the accent I gave him.
Yeah.
So I tried to get myself into just sort of like a little bit more youthful, so he might be a little bit more kind of hot-headed, where Orion is letting his anger get the better of him, but a little bit more in control of it.
Yeah, and always remember that you've got there are different tools that you can use to make those distinctions more stark. One of these people is used to getting his own way and speaks at his own pace, and he'll take as much time as it takes to get to say what he has to say. And the other one is more businesslike, and he's more likely to speak in faster tones. So you can distinguish between your characters that way too, by giving them different pace at which they speak.
Absolutely.
So, very good, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thank you
Zach.
both.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and good job on the on giving the women great voices of their own.
This is good. Yeah.
appreciate that.
You're not overdoing it. It's good. That's the biggest. I think the biggest worry whenever you're doing it, especially for men, I think, is to try and be like push it too hard into like, now I sound like a woman.
And it sounds mocking at a certain point when you're...
It sounds mocking at a certain point, and at the very least,
Yeah.
It can sound
pulls the listener out of it.
Yeah, it can sound condescending if you if you do that. So
Yeah.
The only reason why I say it's easier for men to move into that world is also because, like, the most like big difference type of thing that a woman can do is try and be as slow as they can, as slow as someone, That, but then that it's like, it's never mocking in that sense. It's more like, they're just trying too hard, I guess. But
yeah. I think there's one, and there'll be only one quick point that I'll make. If you look at different people in whatever stage of life they're in, you can observe the ways that their voices work. Men's voices are not typically as elastic as women's are. We generally speak within a certain range, and then women tend to have more range as they speak, and their inflections are women's inflections are here, lows to highs, whereas men stay pretty much in the in like one range. So as you're doing a man's voice, if you don't have to worry so much about making your voice really deep, as much as you have to keep your modulation kind of clear. And the same thing applies for different ages. Kids, before they're 10 or 15 years old, their voices go way up and way down. They have like very little control of their voices. The older you get, the more you're able to modulate your voice to have more control over your voice, right?
Nuance. You're saying.
And then when you get older, you start to lose control of your voice again. and that's why people have their modulation tends to go up and down as well. So
Do you ever think it's that when you're a child or when you're an older person, you don't try to control everything as much, and it's only when we're stuck in this period of our lives where we're trying to make everything. Sorry.
yeah, totally. No, all right, okay. So let's get Cammie's take on her audio, or on her portion of the script, and see how you do yours.
You got it. Little is known about how or why some Fae are born with more than one element, but we do know that genetics play a role, and so does your order. He gave us a pointed look, and I gave him a cold stare back. You literally just claimed me as your blood bag, you jackass. How can he go on with life as if nothing just happened? He approached me with a smile that made my chest hollow out. Can you name some of the constellations which aren't linked to a zodiac sign, Miss Vega? Why was he always picking on us? There were nearly 100 people in this class, and he knew for a fact that my sister and I had the least knowledge here out of everyone. I thought back to my youth, lying under the stars beside Tori. Our foster mother at the time had laid with us, pointing out the few constellations she knew. She'd been a kind woman, but her husband had never wanted us there. In the end, she chose him, and we were cast out. The story of my life. One of the constellations had stuck in my mind from those long ago days. I cleared my throat. The little bear. Correct. He pointed at Diego beside me. Which is also known as? The Little Dipper, sir, he supplied. I bet Diego's got a little dipper. Tyler Corbin snorted from the front row. 5 points from Terra. Orion snapped at him, and Tyler huffed. And the Latin name? Orion pointed at Sophia, who turned pink-faced as she answered. Ursa Minor? She squeaked. 10 points to House Ignis. Orion strode away, and Sophia beamed from ear to ear. I didn't know why she doubted herself so much. She knew more than Tori, Diego, and I combined.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd say kind of similar to Zach. There's a little bit of a and again, it's not. This is you are first person in this. I thought back to my youth lying. There's still sort of a reading the book element.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to
where
do
you're
that.
sacrificing the presence of her inner monologue for the text to speech aspect of reading a book. That's there. Again, it's a style, so it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of people who make their entire living doing it this way. I will say that in general, especially when you start getting into romance, and especially when it's first person point of view, I think that the listeners are getting more used to wanting it to become more lifelike.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You lose that with words by getting lost in the words of it instead of the intentions and the emotional presence of what those words are representing. So I would say there's a danger. I tried to actually grab. I clocked it earlier, but now I don't remember what it was that I saw. I wanted to give you a specific. Here's one. Is when she says she's been a kind woman, but her husband had never wanted us there. This is this moment she's talking about her foster mother and how she actually loved her mom, but the guy that her mom was married to never wanted us there. The when you broke it down, it made sense with the way that the sentence was structured, but it didn't necessarily have the
meaning.
feeling of rejection that you know what I mean. That's you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't
100%.
beat this with a stick. Yeah,
And that inner
Can I-
dialogue, I think, is important too.
but your characters are great. The characters, just to keep focused on the thing, you did great. Your characters were great. The Ursa Minor Squeak was wonderful. Diego was great. The Tyler was a fun guy, and I liked your Orion as well.
Can I just do that little part? I thought back to my youth. Can I redo that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go give it a little bit more too. Go to why was he always picking on us?
Okay.
Why don't you go from there?
Why was he always picking on us? There were nearly 100 people in this class, and he knew for a fact that my sister and I had the least knowledge here out of everybody. I thought back to my youth, lying under the stars beside Tori. Our foster mother at the time had laid with us, pointing out the few constellations she knew. She'd been a kind woman, but her husband had never wanted us there. In the end, she chose him and we were cast out. The story of my life.
If I was sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Teddy.
I was going to say if I was directing it, this is whatever. You're just picking this up. You haven't had a million years to be looking at this. But if I was directing it, I would also be mindful of what words you do pick out. Like you're saying, but her husband had never. You're emphasizing never wanted us there. Whereas I would encourage you to pick out wanted. Her husband had never wanted us there.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you did the same thing earlier with this. Why is he always picking on us? Why is he always picking on us? These things have different meanings, you know,
for
by
sure.
the way that you are
I love that.
giving them out.
It's really good. It's great to, as you're reading through the through those pieces, to find opportunities for.
We'll find what the actionable word is. You know what I mean? And that's it's what is the meaning? What's the important part of this sentence? Is the important part that he's always picking on you, or that he's always picking on you?
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
That he never wanted you, or that he never wanted you. Yeah, you know what I mean. This is always I think it's kind of picky what I'm saying, but
I love
there's
it.
an element of like that we are learning about not just what happened to her, but how she felt about it.
100.
And so finding what words stand out the most towards making us feel and understand why she's telling us this story.
I
well,
hate
she feels the way
words,
she
but
does right now.
I picked the wrong ones. No, I like
That's
your,
okay, that's
I
okay.
get it.
So-
I totally get it.
Well,
I
no,
love
I mean
it.
the thing is though that they're so as I'm listening to this thing, I am thinking of a completely different set of words to emphasize. Like when you said, so I would have said it as she was always a kind person, but he never wanted us there. You know,
The he.
But that's the cool thing about it is like, there are, here are three different interpretations of that, of that copy that you can use that makes it yours. Right.
But don't do it the way that Troy said. Do it the way that I said.
Yeah. Other than that, it was no. I think that it's that's. I mean, I think that's like the really cool thing about reading these stories is that you can find opportunities to to make it to make it yours, to make it to deliver that energy and emotion.
But it is, when we talk about emphasizing words, it's not about like how well you emphasize the word. It's about making the meaning and the intention of the author clear.
Yes.
And so, and the way in which you emphasize a word in a sentence changes the meaning of the sentence.
True.
Right.
The way in which you emphasize changes the meaning. The way you emphasize changes the meaning. You know, what exactly you're saying.
I see what you're doing.
But good. And also, just to keep it on task as far as the challenge, your Orion was great. I liked your Orion too. He had a good vibe. All of your characters were good. That's why we're talking about this other stuff.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Lyra, are you ready? You ready to rock and roll? We put Lyra to sleep. You're on mute, Lyra.
It is
Lyra's
like it would not
surely
unmute.
they're gonna.
I
these
clicked
guys
it
are
like
talking
6
forever.
times. Okay, it was not unmuting. I was like, "What is going on?"
Okay. We just thought you were bored with us.
No,
Forget it.
I'm not
I'm
bored.
gonna go get a can of Pringles.
No, that's my dog snoring in the background, not me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna start up with "Get Out of My Classroom" up there.
All right.
Get out of my classroom. Not until you swear it, Caleb spat, wheeling a hand around to point at Tori. She's mine. Keep your teeth out of her. I don't belong to anyone. Tori snapped, and I nodded my agreement. When Orion didn't respond, Caleb pushed the professor off of him so hard his back smashed into the board. Tense mutters broke out in the class, and I realized I was clutching the edge of my desk, my knuckles turning white. Fine, Orion said in a deadly tone. But the other Vega twin is mine. Excuse me? I gasped, but they continued to ignore us. Caleb grumbled something, starting to talk back and forth before him like a caged lion. Deal, he finally forced out, then marched from the room, slamming the door behind him. Orion straightened his shirt, then turned back to the board. Aries are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive when... He went on, and I turned to Tori in absolute shock as Orion continued as if nothing had just happened. Don't we get a say in this? I hissed to my sister. Not unless we can fight them off, Tori said, her brow creasing with rage. Which you won't be able to do unless you listen in class. A book slammed into our desk, and Tori and I sprang apart to avoid it hitting us. Orion glared at us, the clear perpetrator. One more word out of either of you, and you'll be in detention for the rest of the year. I'm going to stop there.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's hard. There's not a lot of notes to give because that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think there's a disconnect from moment to moment that's kind of happening as far as the tone shifting. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. The tone,
character or narrator tone?
the scene tone, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So that this is the end of the fight,
Mm-hmm.
and then the whole thing shifts, and he starts to move back to business as usual, and then all while that's happening, they still are stuck with like, didn't he just say, like, I can't get past what they said during that thing. And so there's God, I don't know how to describe this to you. I'm sorry. It's like tone is to me the vibe. It's the idea that you feel the air moving a certain way, and then it changes in this moment, and then it jumps back up again when he catches them still talking about the old thing, and then it I'm trying to move my where did you end? You ended at detention for the rest of the
Yes.
year. No, you ended with
Yeah, I ended at detention.
So what I would say is your characters are great. Everything was really good. That was a very good read. I'm being very picky here, I think, also
Okay.
for
No,
this
be
one.
picky, please.
But I'll be picky. It would be that I want to feel the tension in the air, I want to see him moving the tension away to go back to business as usual. And I want to see them being like, not okay with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I saw that.
So
direction.
you're saying
So there's-
they should
there's
carry
this
the
movie I
tension while
saw.
he sounds normal.
Yeah.
I just want to be, when I say it was disconnected, I mean that I don't feel that these three moments, these changes in the scene are connected to each other. It's like I know that it says he's just going back to like business as usual, but he was just a part of a fight. He's going to carry a little bit of that with him.
Okay.
But he's now his goal is to move forward, and so the different moments, the different beats of this scene feel a little disconnected because I don't feel like they're. It's like now you're just like, okay, and then there's this that happens next,
Yeah.
as opposed to this happens because of what just happened. Does that make sense?
I think it makes
Again, I'm
sense.
being really picky. If you just read it just like that, exactly as you did, I'm like directing you more than I'm giving you.
I
Any
know.
kind
I'm
of,
trying to figure out how I would change that.
I think it's I think that the way to keep it together is that, your storyteller is observing what's happening here. So like she sees this conflict, and then she sees him go back to business as usual, and then she's commenting on that, saying, I can't believe that he's just like going back to business as usual.
Okay.
It's cool because there's like lots of tension, and then pretense of no tension, but there is tension in there, and she's the one who's able to communicate that. All right, so I think that's an opportunity.
give it another shot. Give it another shot and see if we can't feel it. If we can't
where?
feel
The
through
whole
it,
thing?
and maybe it's just bad direction. That's
Okay.
another possibility. Don't discount that possibility.
So just start from the top again.
I would say, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Get out of my classroom. Not until you swear it, Caleb spat, wheeling a hand around to point at Tori. She's mine. Keep your teeth out of her. I don't belong to anyone. Tori snapped, and I nodded my agreement. When Orion didn't respond, Caleb pushed the professor off him so hard his back smashed into the board. Tense mutters broke out in the class, and I realized I was clutching the edge of my desk, my knuckles turning white. Fine, Orion said in a deadly tone. But the other Vega twin is mine. Excuse me? I gasped, but they continued to ignore us. Caleb grumbled something, starting to stalk back and forth before him like a caged lion. Deal, he finally forced out, then marched from the room, slamming the door behind him. Orion straightened his shirt, then turned back to the board. Aries are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive when... He went on, and I turned to Tori in absolute shock as Orion continued, as if nothing had just happened. Don't we get a say in this? I hissed to my sister. Not unless we can fight them off, Tori said, her brow creasing with rage. Which you won't be able to do unless you listen in class. A book slammed into our desk, and Tori and I sprang apart to avoid it hitting us. Orion glared at us, the clear perpetrator. One more word out of either of you, and you'll be in detention the rest of the year.
Yeah, it was good. That's good. I think there's still, it's still sort of I don't get a clear feeling specifically with Orion in that moment.
Do you want him more calm
Because it seems
or
like he
less
does
calm?
just go back to business as usual, as
Yeah.
though nothing happened.
In
and
his
you're maybe
internal
just too good at
thoughts,
that.
and maybe it's just because I read the guy's perspective, he is not calm inside, really.
Yeah,
He is
yeah.
upset with Darcy and upset with the situation, and there's like this tension between them already. So while he like is trying to appear calm, he's not internally calm.
But we would want to see that. Do you
Okay,
know? I mean,
and
we
try
would
to
want
be
to
calm.
hear that, even
Like,
though
absolute
his.
calm.
Say that again.
Absolute calm from him.
No, I would want to see more of
More tension.
that thing. Yeah, more tension.
Okay,
That it's
okay.
that it's because it's written as this, but for us to bring life to these characters, we do have to show their inner workings a little bit. And if we internalize it too much or intellectualize it too much, then we don't get that vibe. And at this point, the author has chosen to have him right after literally being slammed. Either he was slammed or he slammed the other guy up against a wall, to then be like, so also if you plus 2 + 2 = 4, and he's just like back into it. I think it's our job in those moments to have him have some sense of a breath that he's taking in deciding to move forward. That then also allows the other people to be like, he's not going to say anything. Like, what the fuck? It kind of. But if we don't see it at all, then he just becomes automaton. He just becomes like a robot. And it's fine for the other characters to say, whoa, he's like a robot. But for us listeners, we do want to see and hear a little bit of his inner struggle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe you can ask yourself, how would I act if something like that happened? I mean, if I just had this huge tense moment with somebody right before I was supposed to go back and be, super chill, how would I do that? It's that you can't, you have to. People would be able to tell that there was something wrong.
Yeah, it can literally be as easy as just moving on, in the way that you're saying it. Orion straightened his shirt and turned back to the board. Ares are ruined by Mars and whatever, and then letting that first jump back into business as usual be a little bit more complicated for him. Just enough, just a little blink of that. This guy has a life going on in the inside. But whatever, that's my choice. That's the way that I would do it if I was doing it. But it's not the only way. But it's
Well, yeah. Maybe that's the key. It's
wonderful job. This is good work. I'm not. Please do not take what I'm saying as that you're doing it wrong or that you're not great. It was a great read. You did a great read. That's why I'm being picky.
But maybe there's a tool that you can find to communicate that he's not okay and that he is doing the best he can to maintain.
So he might grit his teeth
calm.
when
and
he's
maybe
saying that
it may
first
be
bit.
as simple as just blowing out a breath.
Like that. So he might just Aries are ruled by Mars, so they can be particularly impulsive and often aggressive. So where he's a little bit more tense.
It's just
and
enough
flows
to
back.
give us the idea that he was just involved in a fight, that then he's now moving forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What you just did is great. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I think that's.
Sorry, quit.
I think that's good. I think we have a. Hopefully with each of these critique sessions, with each one of us, you are all able to pick out, something from them to inform your challenge, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our challenges. You're going to post your challenges, and then I think on the 26th, if I'm right, we're going to. Not the 26th. It is the 26th? Okay. On the 26th, what we're going to do is we're going to get together. There are 4 other groups of 4 people that are going through these challenges. Teddy,
dirty.
One of our mentors. We've got 3 other mentors for this challenge who are working with 4 other contestants, and so we're all going to go.
Not as good mentors, though, right?
Not as good as you. I mean, but the best we can.
This is like the main one.
Yeah, exactly. The best we can do. But we're going to all work on our challenges, and then Teddy, you and the other 3 mentors are going to get together and talk about the highlights from your mentees and what you liked about them as we listen to how they performed their challenges with your guidance.
How many? Who is it? Just one winner?
2 winners.
2 winners.
Yeah. Yeah, we have two ultimate winners.
So two of the people in this session are going to win. Is that what you're saying?
Could be.
Because
Could
of
be.
your mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, good.
Now-
Correct. Move him up.
Yeah.
Move him up immediately.
That's why I said.
Zach,
That's why I
Zach,
said.
Zach has just earned brownie points. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're Team Teddy now. So
exactly.
Let's make it 4. Let's make it 4 winners. 4 winners.
So yeah, Teddy needs to buy T-shirts for you guys, and
Yep.
you have your own secret handshakes.
Teddy had no idea. Now he's part of the challenge, right? Because now he's going to want one of his mentees to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be a
Yeah,
Troy
it's
and
funny.
Teddy's
No, it's
turtles.
true.
We'll start taking donations, and he'll be able to send you like rations, like food or water or whatever it is.
Hunger Games?
Yeah, like the Hunger Games.
Incredible.
So, Teddy, thank you so much for all of your guidance. I think that you gave just some fantastic coaching to these contestants.
Thank
think
you
that,
so
Yeah.
much.
It was really
Yeah.
good. It was really good listening to you guys. Everybody was very talented, so I'm still convinced.
Yep.
Two of the 4 of you.
All right.
Thank you so much
Well,
for your time.
time will tell, and we'll be back. We'll be back in a little bit over a week or less than a week, when you compare your notes with your other mentors. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks very much, guys. I appreciate your time, and good luck on your challenges. Any questions that you have, be sure to reach out to Brandon, Terry, or myself, and we'll be happy to help you as you put your challenge together. Okay?
Thank you
If
so
anybody
much.
wants
Thank
to follow
you.
me, I'm at narrated by Teddy Hamilton on Instagram. So we can talk. I do nothing on that thing other than that. But it's a good way to connect if you guys want to ask any questions or continue the conversation as we move
Beautiful.
forward.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
I love
much.
that.
Appreciate that.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks
Bye.
again.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.